I think there's a critical point to be made here in relation to how the Scottish Government are seeking to explain the hundreds of millions of pounds worth of cuts coming down the line from Holyrood that they claim they have no choice but to oversee. And that's in the way that John Swinney and those around him are beginning to pit one set of workers against another for daring to ask for a fair day's pay after a decade of falling living standards and a much increased cost of living. So I'm quoting from something Swinney said the other day here, when he said that the Scottish Government were wrestling with significantly higher pay demands than anticipated, right? And what he is saying there is that the Scottish Government are going to have to slash X service in order to pay Y set of workers. He's presenting it as a binary choice, that because healthcare workers or local government workers have asked for a inflation-busting pay rise, which they absolutely should, the Scottish Government consequently have to cut. And in so doing, he denies any agency the Scottish Government might have to raise revenue, be that through higher income tax thresholds, be that through pushing the boundaries of the current constitutional settlement and looking at a land value tax, a wealth tax, other ways of generating revenue. Of course, he's ignoring the council tax freeze that the Scottish Government orchestrated under Humza Yousaf that has significantly tightened the finances of local government for this year, and once again, as I say, denying the political agency of the Scottish Government as an actor, content for it to be a passive site of administration that has no choice but to manage rather than govern and intervene. And I think this is interesting, not least because it kind of betrays the class neutrality that the SNP like to present most of the time. Generally, in times of in boom time, in times of when they are politically in the black, they are very happy to speak the language of social democracy, speak the language of progress, and talk about how they are partners of Scotland's trade unions, how they have a good working relationship, etc., etc. But when push comes to shove, when they're put under the microscope, when they are politically in the red, that class neutrality disappears totally, and they betray it and become all too ready to align with the status quo and to throw workers under the bus, just as other governments have in the past. So I think it is revealing as to how the Scottish Government are behaving at the moment, and how they will behave as this sort of fiscal climate intensifies, right? As they are actually having to present the budget, they will begin to blame workers, and they're already doing it, manufacturing consent for cuts by throwing workers under the buses. It's happened before, it will happen again, but it's important to expose and talk about when it does, I think.